Okay, thanks everyone. I think today we lost the first 15 minutes, but as I mentioned, this is basic one. Probably like same problem will not happen from next week. We'll continue to the subject today.
Karthi, can
Yeah,
others go on mute because we get some TV noise as well?
yeah, sure. I will just participant mute all. Thank you, guys. So most of you familiar who I am. I'm Karthik Mogan. I'm a cloud solution architect at CloudZent. I'm also the founder and speaker for the MK Azure user group. So this is purely focused on Microsoft technologies and Azure cloud, but the audience or members are interested in other technologies. Yes, we will focus on other areas as well. As I mentioned today, we are focusing on Azure AZ900 fundamental exam. This is pretty much basic for everyone to understand. When you are taking this exam, you will be having like 6 different topic, and each topic there will be a basic questions. This is one of the easiest exam to clear in Microsoft. Each topic there will be a percentage of weightage. The questions will be coming in each sections. So the percentage also given here. So for example, if you are studying all these 5 but not the cost management, then obviously like you will be losing some 10 to 15% questions here. So pretty much you need to take 75%, if I'm not wrong, minimum 75% to pass the exam. But this is pretty much easy. Like if you guys work with me on every week, I will be able to help you, and I also can run through the sample questions, how the exam will be, what kind of questions will come, what are the materials available in online. We can take that and discuss that here. So today we will start with the basic concept or principles of the cloud computing. So cloud computing, I think we all are studied in engineering or bachelor's. This is pretty much in the simple term. The cloud computing is just renting compute resources. So when it comes to computer, it can be a storage or a CPU or a RAM. This is pretty much the compute resources. Currently, every organization they have their own physical server or virtual environment within the company, and they start creating application, hosting application. But because of the public cloud um, popularity these days, like everything become a cloud. These public clouds are becoming famous, and that's why this cloud computing also becoming popular. So pretty much cloud computing is nothing but your compute resource you are renting from somebody. So here you can see the type of resources you can rent. I will come into detail these topics. Pretty much like virtual machines are created top of the physical hardwares. So these physical hardwares currently in our company, they will be maintaining in their own data center. And when they have a physical server, they will be able to use virtualized servers like Hyper-V technology to create a multiple machines. But this takes lots of physical servers in order to implement this. The same way you have a containers and the serverless components. This topic will be discussed in the upcoming slide. So from this slide or from this topic, the things which we want to remember, this is pretty much like a renting a resource from third party. And again, like these days, like we are learning so many things, we are not able to keep every lines to memorize. So my only tips here, you just remember by the keyword, or any subject you are studying these days, you just try to remember, okay, cloud computing means renting resources, either from Microsoft or Amazon or Google. These are the people are market leading public cloud providers. So why we need to use cloud computing and what are the benefits? pretty much cost effective, because you are not actually buying your physical computers from cloud computing people. You are pretty much buying or renting the virtual machines. It's not as a physical server cost. So if you are running your organization in on-premises, you spend lots of money on upfront to buy a physical servers to maintain, to provide the power supply, networking, weekly or monthly monitoring, and security of the data center. All these challenges you have, but instead of maintaining your own data center, you can go to Microsoft. You can rent virtual machines or resources from Microsoft. That can be a SQL server or a website you wanted from Microsoft. You can simply rent it. So by renting, you're not paying a huge cost here. In organizational, they'll say capital expenditure. So you don't need to pay upfront cost for any of the resources. Whatever you purchase, you pay for what you are using. Pretty much like a renting model. And then the scalability wise, these are the words you have to remember, because in the exam, if someone, I think in the member today who are joined here, we have a mix of experienced and non-experienced people. So for everyone, just take this word, like these keywords are very important in the exam. Maybe like you are familiar or you are not familiar. Better you try to remember or take a note, or whatever the input you need from me after this session, you can email me so I can share all the relevant materials. So scalability means we can take example of Marks and Spencer. Marks and Spencer is a retail website. They are running a retail website, and they have their own on-premises physical servers for managing their online website, for selling all their material. If they have a physical server, like assuming like they have one physical server, and one physical server can support 10,000 user requests. During the Christmas time, they can't predict whether they are going to get only 10,000 customer or more than 10,000 customer. If in the Christmas time, pretty much every day things can change. If they're giving you more discount, more people will be logging into the application. If they get more than 10,000 people, the servers cannot support the request. So you might be seen in various websites, the website is down because they are not able to support the user request. So what they will do normally in on-premises, they will try to add more servers to support more requests. Assuming you are already paying £100,000 for supporting 100,000 or 10,000 resources, you might be having a huge server, physical server. Then if you're buying another physical server, you're paying more money. So cost is increasing. And once you are finished Christmas time, you don't need those servers, because only on Christmas time you are getting more requests. So to avoid buying additional physical servers, you can go with the public cloud. In public cloud, because you are only paying for the renting, because you are not owning any physical servers, you are only renting the resources, you can simply create virtual machines and say this can scale. There is a concept called, I will come to that topic in the next slide, scale in, scale out. So depending on your user request, you can multiply your virtual machines to more than one. Once the request is gone, you can reduce those virtual machines into a smaller number. So that's the scalability part, functionality available in Azure. That really helps your application need. Then the Elastic, pretty much in runtime, you can expand it to anything. Like if I'm talking something advanced, please ignore now. In the upcoming slide, we will be discussing that in detail. So for example, you have data analytical platform in company. What data analytical platform will do? They get the data, they perform ETL, extract, transport, load. So once they perform the ETL of some data, it can create a meaningful data, and the data can store in some databases. So, for example, we have lots of car. Each car has some sort of devices which is sending the performance of the car to the manufacturer. So those cars sending the request, and we will be getting like millions of data, and the data comes to a system. The system has to process who's sending this data, what kind of data. For that, you need large enterprise resources. Like you cannot manage that by physical server, because physical servers are restricted to support minimal um, resources and minimal loads. If you want to have hundreds of servers, suddenly you are getting more requests and you want to process it, then you need to have an elastic concept. Elastic concept is expanding your infrastructure whenever need, and then you can reduce it. Pretty much scalability and elastic model are pretty much similar, but they have their own in-depth difference. And next you have a reliability, because whatever physical servers in companies managed by your own infrastructure team, so pretty much you know what they do. You can rely on that infrastructure, and if they have power cut, they may have a backup powers, etc. But if you're going to public cloud, you will have some sort of hesitance whether to go with them, whether I'll get a better performance or better um, power resources, what kind of SLAs they provide. But these all are considered. Microsoft is grown from last 10 years. They have a better, they are the number one public cloud provider in today's world. And any resources you are purchasing from them, they are providing a SLA. These SLAs are critical for any application. We will talk about the SLA in the upcoming slide. Again, this is globally available. If you are launching a product or your company, they are globally selling something, then you need to have this website available globally. Assuming like you have a website hosted in UK and you are selling something in Australia, um, Australian people are logging to your website. Website is anyway available in internet, anyone can access, but because the request is coming from Australia, to reach to UK server, always there will be a performance issue. If you keep the same copy of the hosting, what you have it in the UK, the same thing if you're hosting in closer to Australia, then they will be able to get the better performance. But how you will do that if you are hosting a physical servers in on premises in your own company? You need to have another company in Australia, and then you need to have a connectivity to the server. So to avoid this, Microsoft they have a data center everywhere, and I think I might have the slide later. Otherwise, I will take a Microsoft data center details. I can share with you. They have lots of servers in the globally, which is, bear with me. So you can see here, they have a 50 region worldwide, 140 available in 140 countries. So region pretty much, you can see here West US and East US or North US are pretty much in the concept of Europe region. Before 2 years, there was only Northern Europe and West Europe. So these two are very popular. But now in the last 2 years, they have improved in the launched in the UK as well. In UK, you have a UK South and UK West. So this is the region. Each region can have more than one data center. So because they are globally available, if you're launching a website and you wanted to have a access from India or Japan, you can host everywhere. Like sitting in UK, you can create a virtual machine in Japan or China or Australia, it happens in a single place. So you don't need a physical server. You can create everywhere. You can bring your system into public cloud and you can serve to globally. So they are the number one currently because of they are improving these regions every year, increasing the number of countries every year. So currently they have 140 countries. That is the large one compared to any other service providers. Again, security wise, pretty much every company will have a challenge whether to trust somebody when they go to public cloud. Microsoft has a lots of security certificates which needed for each organization. Even if you are running your own company, you still need a ISO standard certificate, etc. But they have everything. They have proven this. Microsoft has a dedicated security teams who do all kind of blocking the hacking areas. So continuously they are monitoring, continuously they are improving. So security wise, you don't need to worry about that. So these are the common benefit of cloud computing. As I mentioned previously, the scale up and scale out. So scale up means this is the keyword you will be getting in exam. Vertical scaling or horizontal scaling, they will say. Vertical scaling means you have one virtual machine or website. If you have one virtual machine which has a 8 GB RAM, 2 core processor, you are getting more requests. This 2 core processor and 8 GB RAM can only support 100 people. Suddenly you have 200 people, or you wanted to support 200 people in 2 days, or if you know already, then you what you will do, you will increase your CPU core 2 core to 4 core or 10 core, whatever the way you want to increase. And the same way you will increase the memory. But this only applicable for scaling up is only applicable for if you already know that you are going to get demand, then you can increase it. But if you don't know what is the demand, but you wanted to support still, then you need to have a horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling means you already have a one virtual machine which has a 2 core 8 GB RAM. The same type of virtual machines you can in runtime means like when you are working on in live, depending on the more request, you can automatically add new servers. You can decide how many servers you wanted to add. So this concept is auto scale out. Instead of adding a new server, same server, if you are increasing the capacity, then it's a scale up. So this you can remember by scale up and scale out, or vertical scaling or horizontal scaling. So this is the different. In this topic, like increasing the resources from same server, sometime you need to restart, or sometime you need to have a take the system offline. Whereas scale out, you don't need to have a restart or offline. You can automatically add runtime if you have a load balancer which can automatically handle. So please remember scale up, scale out. That will be coming in the exam. So the next area we talk about the capital expenditure or operational expenditure. Pretty much you can see here, if you are working on an application which need more resources, then the physical servers you cannot keep adding because your demand only coming in the later stage. In the example of Marks and Spencer and Christmas sale, we said like only December they get more demand. So how do you manage? Can you add a new physical server? No, you need to have some sort of scalability and elasticity, which can provided by the Microsoft Azure. So the next topic we'll be talking about the deployment model, cloud deployment model. We already talked about that in the previous slides. Pretty much. So there are three type of cloud models: public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. So public cloud is pretty much Azure, Microsoft Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, Alibaba. They all are providing computer resources in their own data center. They're renting to us. So this is the public cloud model. The advantages we already talked about. highly scalable. You can pay as you go model. You can only pay what you are using. You don't need to pay for upfront cost, and you need to have a minimal technical knowledge to set up use. From if you have internet access, if you have Azure account, you can create resources sitting in anywhere in the world. You don't need to be physically sitting in the server. So that's the main advantages with the public cloud. Disadvantage or limitation, I can say, because it's a public clouds are hosted by third party, Microsoft pretty much here in this context. Sometimes the government project or secret project, they need to maintain their content in their own data center. There might be some limitation. Somebody can say, no, I don't want to go into public cloud. For example, military grade confidential information. Even the public cloud provides all the security, but still government doesn't want to trust because of, for example, UK government confidential information. They don't want to go into public cloud because the public cloud maintained by or owned by American company. Maybe those kind of limitation they can have. So those are the basic limitation currently they have. But otherwise, public clouds are now used by American government or UK government. Most of the popular governments are currently using, but they have their specific set of security controls in place. Again, the government policies may not support currently. They have to change the government policies before going into public cloud. Those are the limitation. I wouldn't be saying this is a disadvantage, but you will be asked in the exam, what is this disadvantage when you go into public cloud? Private cloud, same as the public cloud. The only difference is your own company has their own data center and they are installing their infrastructure, they are managing. That is the private cloud. It is only limited for the single organization or group of organizations. It is not like openly available for everyone. And again, the disadvantages, because you are owning all your physical servers, your capital expenditure is high. You are losing that. You are missing the pay-as-you-go model. That is the key disadvantages here. But advantages wise, you have control over your resources. You can do whatever the scenario you wanted to use. Like any technology, they have their own limitations. Even in the public cloud, like public cloud can have a set of limitation. But these days, Microsoft is improving day by day. I don't see major challenges in terms of your resourcing scenarios. Then you have a hybrid cloud. It is pretty much combination of your public cloud and private cloud. Like you can, if assuming like you have a application which need a web front end, website, and then you also need a database. So your website can sit in public cloud because it's cheaper and it is pay as you go. But you don't want to share this secret data or confidential data which you want to maintain in your on premises. Then you need a hybrid cloud. Like you can host your website in public cloud, which is Microsoft Azure. You can manage your databases in your own data center. So this way you need to have a connectivity between these two, public cloud and your on premises or private cloud. So that model is a hybrid cloud. So in this exam, they'll be asking what is hybrid cloud. They wouldn't be directly asking like what is what. They'll be giving you scenario and scenario based questions they will be raising. So probably like we can see that in the upcoming slide. There are some sample questions for you. This is the simple example for cloud service comparison. So you can see 4 different model. I think again you need to remember this title, the header, whatever you are seeing, because this will be asked in the exam. Traditional on-premises. So anything in the gray color, completely managed by you, completely supported by you. So if you have on-premises private cloud model, your network, storage, server, virtualization, and on top of the virtualization, you need to install the operating system and maintain it and then you will have some middleware softwares. In the runtime, you are managing the data and application. All this is managed by your own company people. So you can see the amount of responsibility in on-premise is too high. Whereas when you go into public cloud, in public cloud, you have three model of services. One is infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service means you are renting a infrastructure, which pretty much networking, storage, server, and virtualization. You are only renting this. So in the example of virtual machine, so you create a new virtual machines, pretty much you get all the 4 items mentioned here. You only need to manage whatever the software you are installing in the virtual machine. And the rest of the basic component like application you manage the data, but you are not managing the underlying infrastructure. So this model called infrastructure as a service, you are only consuming the infrastructure. Platform as a service, which pretty much similar of infrastructure, but one level above, the application installed in the virtual server or middleware or runtime, you are not managing. You are only managing the application and data. I will give you example of these two, or including these three, once I finish the software as a service. So software as a service means you don't manage anything. Everything is managed by the provider. You only consume the software. So for example, we are using Gmail, Hotmail, right? So we are using a mail as a service. So email as a service we are using, and we are not pretty much doing anything, right? We are only log in and use the email and log out. We are not owning the network. We are not owning the infrastructure, or not the operating system installed in the virtual servers, or the email application software, or the data stored in the database. Pretty much we are not owning anything. We are only using the software. So email is one example. And if you are familiar with the Office 365, in every company these days they use Microsoft Teams, Outlook, email, or a SharePoint Online. All these are software as a service. If you heard about other softwares like ServiceNow, Salesforce, these products are these days, they manage everything. They pretty much manage all the item mentioned in the blue. They are providing the service to you. You are only using the service. So the example for each item, right? Infrastructure as a service in Microsoft, you are renting a virtual machine, which is pretty much infrastructure as a service. And in the platform as a service is, old days we all might be done like hosting a website in the cloud, or hosting a website. So you go to somebody and say, I want a container or a placeholder for hosting a website. That website hosting is a platform as a service, because you are not owning any of the underlying infrastructure or the software runtime. You are only managing your application, the HTML file or the data, what you are owning. It's only thing that you are managing. So this comes into platform as a service. In Azure concept, website, Azure SQL Server, lots of other components are considered as a platform as a service. We will see in the upcoming sessions. Software as a service, we already know what is the example, like Office 365 is one of the great example for software as a service. So for a quick, probably like a short questions, people can read this and see like what you think. Till now, whatever you learn, whatever you observed, you may be having the answer already. I'll just give you a couple of minutes. So probably like you can go read this, and you can decide what could be the answer here. Okay, so most of you already gone through this. Let's read this. Like, which term from the list below would be viewed as benefit of using cloud services? So the options are unpredictable cost. I think by using a cloud service, we are going to spend lesser cost. So it's not that this one. Elasticity, this is pretty much you have noticed, like electricity or scalability is one of the benefit of going into public cloud or cloud computing. So if you already decided answer B, pretty much you have already observed what is the benefit of cloud services. In the second one, the scenario is like suppose you have a two type of application: legacy application that require the specialized mainframe hardware, and newer application that can run commodity hardware. So this is what they're saying, like you have mainframe physical server which is currently not in the public cloud, it has to be in the on premises, and you also have a new applications which you wanted to go for a modern technology, then pretty much you can go for a public cloud. So because this has a two scenario, like you need to use on premises as well as the cloud, pretty much the answer is hybrid cloud here. The next one, you are developing an application and want to focus on building and testing, deploying. You don't want to worry about manage the underlying hardware of the software. So what could be the answer for this one? Is pretty much like platform as a service. In the previous slide, we saw that we don't want to worry about the software also. So if it is hardware and or software you don't want to manage, then pretty much you go for a platform as a service. Like you just buy a website or rent a website, you put your code, it is already online. You don't need to worry about the hardware and software upgrading, security patching. You don't need to worry about anything. So platform as a service is the answer for this one. I think we already finished the 11:45 overrun now, but because today we started late, if you guys are okay, probably like I will take another few minutes if that okay for people. Probably like we can close this session today 12 o'clock if the Zoom permits.
Okay, Karthik.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So quickly we can talk about the core services on the Microsoft Azure cloud. So I think we already discussed this topic, right? Like Azure is Microsoft cloud computing platform, globally available, which provides a lot of services, which including of compute. Compute means like your virtual machines, your images, like the virtual machines comes with predefined operating systems are all considered as a compute. And then pretty much you need a network. If you're going into public cloud, you want to have your own networking so that you are not sharing your information with other people. So you need a secured network that's also available as a networking. Then you have a storage, like when you create a virtual machine, you need to have a C drive or D drive disk spaces or the actual virtual machine also to store somewhere. So you need a storage. So storage also available as a service. You can rent a storage. Again, like mobile applications, these need a API backend or hosting the web pages or mobile pages. You need a mobile service or a web service. Databases, like any application, you need a type of databases, either SQL Server or PostgreSQL or a MySQL. There are plenty of databases in the industry, so all the databases are available here. And the Internet of Things, I don't know how many are familiar with the Internet of Things these days. Like as I give you one example, collecting data from resources like a car or the lift or security controls like security cameras. I think one example I can take, like one of the largest lift company in Japan, like 10 years before they were largest company. When they wanted to maintain anything, they are taking the actual lift downtime. So they are stopping the service for people, and then they are investigating and repairing. So the repair can happen anytime. But Internet of Things is helping them. They attached sensors or the IoT devices on the lift itself. They're collecting the usage data. So they monitor the data every day, and they see, okay, I think that they're predicting the issue already. Okay, Friday morning, the way we are currently, the system is working, there should be a problem will come in next 2 days. So they predict the issues by collecting the data from the system, and they know that it's going to have a problem tomorrow. So as soon as the office hours finished, in the night time, they can schedule a repairing. Instead of that, if they're not having this kind of flexibility or the technology, whenever the problem happened, the Monday morning, 10 o'clock, everybody is using the lift. If the problem happened, then the whole company productivity is lost. People cannot travel, or they cannot go on time to their meetings. All of the challenges are business impact. So that's why these Internet of Thinking things are becoming very popular, like Tesla cars or any car, Ford. These days, like they have their own devices in the car. Car is sending all the usage information to the cloud. They are processing and they are addressing all of the problem. Then the big data, it's another concept, which is like, when it comes to big data, is assuming like every day we are sending post or messages in WhatsApp or Facebook. They need to maintain all this data somewhere, and they need to collect the data and then process it and segregate it, which location you need to keep, or the data classification. Each data, they need to say this data belongs to secure data, non-secure data, or somebody says this is need to be blocked. They need to maintain all of this, like collecting, preserving, and disposing. All these are like, because if you take one example of Facebook, they will have like lots of data which you cannot imagine on a daily basis. So they need a bigger processor, bigger storages. So when it comes to cloud, this is helping you to have your big data implementation in the cloud, because it is supporting scalability, it is supporting elasticity, it is giving you all the resources in matter of 1 minute to 1 second to 15 minutes. You can get whatever the servers you need. So big data is one of the best advantage going into cloud. You can achieve your big data or AI components. Like if you're talking to a system need to tell you what you are looking for, then you need a conversational based response, so that it could be a voice or it could be a chat. So the AI components in cloud, Microsoft already invested AI components. Those components are already available in the Azure. If you're developing a website, the website need a online chat. Otherwise, you need to provide a telephone number. You need to arrange your telephone supporting people help desk, and they will be taking a call and responding. If you already know what kind of issues people will be asking, you can simply create a chat, online chat, QA based chat, question and answer, and pretty much like if somebody is calling and, hey, what is the service you are offering, what is your tariff, what are the models you have, tariff 1 2 3. So all these are predefined data. You don't need to have a customer care people to explain this. You can tell the system, this is my data, if anyone asks, respond to this based on the question. So those are already predefined technologies Microsoft already built that. You can go to cloud, simply you can rent it, you can use it. So these AI functionalities, one of the key example for platform as a service, because you're only using the software or the technology or the function. You're not paying for anything upfront. DevOps, because we are moving into cloud, old days, like updating any software, you need to have a change request process. Like you need to identify what you are going to implement. You need to take the system offline. Downtime you are announcing. There will be a window where you will only upgrade your softwares. But because of it's a cloud, your demand is too high. You can't even afford your downtime. So for that, you need to have a better mechanism of releasing your softwares. So this DevOps process, the technologies pretty much helpful when you are moving into cloud. This is the basic concept of basic services of Azure. And this slide, you can see what are the services Azure is offering. The underlying data center infrastructure, pretty much you are not owning everything managed by Microsoft. Your cooling power, your actual power for each of the servers, the physical servers, networking cables, um, data center security, human power, engineers, all of these are managed by Microsoft. You are not managing any of this. So when it comes to infrastructure as a service, they have a compute as one example. Compute means virtual machines or containers. Virtual machines are machines with the operating system, but containers are you are not having the operating system on the container image. It is managed by the underlying infrastructure. So you can spin up like the elasticity or scalability. Containers are one of the key example. You have a mobile application. So the mobile application, the front end of the web page is sitting in your mobile itself, because the app once you install, the pages are installed there. So when you click something submit, the submit actually goes to your backend server or the API server. The API servers has to support your request. So if you're getting you don't know when you're going to mobile app, launched it in the globally, anyone can request anytime. So you can't predict. So containers are one of the good example or good use case for hosting your APIs. You can create a container, host your API there, and you can tell them this is auto scaling containers. Start with the one container. In case I have more requests, you can increase 2, 3, 4, 5. You can also say maximum you add 40 servers, because I don't want to have a more bill for me. Even I get more requests, but I can only pay for this much money. So you can predict your costing, and you can tell up to 40 machines I can afford. Then you can limit the auto scaling. Says start with one container, maximum 40. You don't need to increase anything, but you can still increase to any number what you want. Then the storage, pretty much what we discussed here. This is mainly part of the storage category. And within the storage category, you have a blob storage, like simply you can store any kind of data, whether it's a rational or relational or a non-relational or a virtual machine. Anything you want to store, you need to have a storage, which is a blob storage. Within the storage, you have a queue technology. When you have a website which need to process the request, you need to have a queue technologies. This will be discussed in upcoming sessions. I think it's at this level of AZ900, you don't need to know all of these services, but all you need to remember: what is infrastructure service, what is platform as a service, what is hybrid cloud, what is the security management functions available in the cloud. You don't need to know each and every component here. It's better to know the example of compute, example of storage. But in the upcoming sessions, we'll be talking about one by one, so that you will get familiarity what will be used for where. So I think from today I will stop going into detail of these slides. So as I mentioned, like this Azure Compute, you have a pretty much we talk about virtual machines and container. So when it comes to virtual machines, you have various components. Like you can just get one virtual machine as an infrastructure as a service, or the VM also can give you something called VM scale set, which means you can say, give me one VM to start with. If I have more demand, you can increase to 10 or 15. That is pretty much called a virtual scale set. App service is one of the platform as a service concept. What app service means, you have your own HTML page, you want to host it somewhere. So you can simply get, I want one app service, which is pretty much a website. And then you can deploy your code. You don't need to worry about underlying software or hardware. So app service is mainly used for hosting your website or mobile app or APIs. Functions, Azure Functions is one of the key example for serverless. What function means? You just get a example like your website need to process something, and you have a piece of code. Like you get a request and you want to process that request and give back to your application or send it to your database. For that middle layer, if you have virtual machines to process that, you're actually renting a virtual machine. The rent is you're paying by monthly, but you don't want to spend that money. You wanted something like whenever I want to use the service, then you need a serverless component. Means you don't need a serverless, you don't need a server, underlying server. You only need to do that function. Then you can go for Azure function. In the upcoming session, we'll talk about this one good examples. And pretty much in the right hand side, we talk about Azure Container Instance and Kubernetes. Container is pretty much not like a virtual machine, is completely different. Maybe here. So this will give you example. When it comes to virtual machines, there is an underlying infrastructure. That infrastructure will have a hypervisor technology, which is in the Microsoft concept, which is Hyper-V. Using that hypervisor concept or the software, you are actually creating a VM1, VM2, VM3. So whenever you create a VM1, you have to install first operating system, and then you install your application with the binaries like a DLLs, if you are familiar with the .NET. But in the container, you don't need a hypervisor here. You only need a infrastructure level. You install one operating system that can create a container engine. So this engine will be the main here, which will automatically spin up what number of containers you need. So in this case, you are not relying on you are not relying on operating system on the VM level or container level. So any upgrade of this operating system you don't need. You can spin here, or you can move from this container to another infrastructure easily. That is simple here. So I think I will stop further low-level component discussion today, and quickly I will show a couple of things. In the next session, we'll talk about Azure networks and so on. So I will show you some example here. So Azure, you can use using this URL like portal.azure. So for example, if I go to Azure, this is the online portal for knowing more about the Azure. They have a list of products here. So all these products you can consume. We will be discussing this in high level for the AZ900 exam. And when you sign in, you will be redirected to Azure portal. This is called portal, where this is the platform for creating your resources. So once you logged in, you can see here there is something called create resource. I can simply create, and I'm thinking to host. I have one HTML website. I want to host it, or I have a ASP.NET based application, or I have a PHP based application I developed in my local computer. I want to host it. Then you can easily understand from here, website is available. Okay, I can just simply go to web here, or the bottom here. These are the type of category services are listed here. When I go to the web here, it gives me option of app service environment. I can just simply use this app service for hosting my app. When I click this app service, so whenever you create your own Azure portal, the Azure portal comes with your subscription. One Azure account can have more than one subscription. So in this example, I have 3 different subscriptions. Subscription is physically and logically separated your infrastructures. So whatever you are creating in this subscription will not be able to access in other subscription. So you can restrict by, and also this gives you subscription level cost. For example, in a company, you have a one company can have a Azure portal account. With that account, they can have a multiple subscription. For HR, they manage their budget, so HR can have a separate subscription and they manage all of their infrastructure or applications in the HR subscription. So when I want to create my website, I need to pretty much select which subscription I wanted to select, and then I give my resource group name. Resource group means it's a logical grouping for all my resources. In this example, we are creating a website, but in the other cases, like if you are creating a virtual machines, pretty much what are the basics you need? First, you need to have your own subscription, and then next level you are going to create your own virtual network, and then you need a storage. On top of that, you need a virtual machines. So all these three resources can be grouped in a single container or single name. So that's what resource group means. Like when you providing a resource group name, this will logically create a group so that all the resources for this particular use case can sit under one resource name. So by just selecting this subscription, providing the group name, and whether I wanted what kind of app service environment name I can provide here, simply whether I wanted an internal IP or external IP, because it's hosting in internet, I need external, and what kind of operating system I need. Because I have HTML, it can run in anything, but if I'm running ASP.NET, I need a Windows operating system. And for example, here I say demo resource group. So create new one, demo resource group. Click OK, and then I'm giving the demo app. So once you selected, you have the names available. If the name available, you can see a little tick, green tick here. And then I'm selecting Windows. Then I'm reviewing and creating. Okay, I have given. So when I'm creating, I have not given the network. So I'm just going to network service here. Okay, I want a new network, which is demo unit. And then the region I'm selecting. We talk about the region data centers, right? So this is default showing all of the available region. Because we are in the UK, I want to create my app in UK, then I can select two UK data centers. One is UK South and UK West. So UK South is in London. I'm selecting this and click OK. And then I'm providing the subnet here, create a new subnet. So this comes with the public one. Sorry, 1 minute. So you can provide your subnet address range here, like the virtual network address is here, and then you can say if you have like 192.168. I think this we will talk about in detail in the upcoming session. I'm just trying to give you some example how easy to create one website, just to provide your details and say. So now I have given my virtual network range and then subnet range, and by clicking OK, this website will be created. And pretty much you see, I come to this Azure portal and then say new. Automatically, I have what are the service I wanted. I can simply go and create it. So this may take like 5 minutes. If you know what are the resources you need, simply you can create and click OK. That creates your website. So another example, like a static website, you don't need any databases. You just need a HTML page. Then you can create a static websites. Pretty much the details needed for this static website: subscription name, resource group name. Then that's it. Once you select a region, you can create your static website. I may have some of the old resources, like we talk about resource group, right? For example, if I go to this serverless microservice, this is one of my resource group. It is just logical grouping. By selecting this, I will know what are the resources I'm using under one resource group. In this concept, I have one storage account and I have one Azure Cosmos DB. These two are grouped by one resource group name. So that is an example of resource group here. I think we will probably stop here and not to give you some confusion here. So let's go back what we have discussed here. I think we talk about the fundamentals of Azure cloud computing. We talk about what is public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. Then we talk about the IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So they say infrastructure as a service is IaaS, platform as a service is PaaS, PaaS, SaaS is the SaaS they call it. So these three keywords you need to remember: public cloud, private cloud, hybrid, and then IaaS, PaaS, SaaS is pretty much interested. And then the keywords we used in the previous slides, like what is capital expenditure, operational expenditure, scale out, scale in, scale up, scale out, and these are the key benefits we talk about. So all these are just to recap before the next session. Then we can probably move into the next topics. So in the next session, we'll talk about individually in high level, like, because this is only fundamental exam. This exam doesn't need to know the detail of all the component. You only need to know what compute means, what compute can offer, what is storage, what storage can offer. So that level basic is needed. So when you are, so until this we talk about the networking, data services. Once we complete it, then we can move into this one. I think let's high level. I'll give you these two slides, and then we'll end with these questions, if you don't mind. Azure network, we talk about, like, when you create anything in the cloud, you need to have your own secured networking. For that, you are getting your virtual network in the cloud. So you have your own virtual network, and I think I can take some example which will be helpful. Okay, so basic web application, we are going to host it in the public cloud. What we need, we pretty much need to access from internet. So what you are seeing in the dotted line is your actual resource group. This resource group contains the few resources inside that. And to authenticate your application, you need to have some sort of directory which is already available in Azure, something called Azure Active Directory. This maintains your username, password, this particular user, what resource they can access. Everything is maintained by Azure Active Directory. DNS is pretty much domain name service. If you are hosting a website, you need to have your own name for the website. That is managed and provided by Azure DNS. So once, if you have these two basic components, then you are hosting your website. This website actually in one of the app service plan. What app service plan means? For one website, you need a probably like a 2-core CPU and 8 GB RAM. That is one app service plan. Plan 2 may have a 4-core, 32 GB RAM. That is a plan 2. So they have separate plans for each app services. So you can select whatever is needed for your website. So website is one of the great example for platform as a service. And then this platform as a service, underlying storage they need. So storage account they are creating. And when my application is selling something, I want to maintain the data or store the data in database, then you have a Azure SQL database. Azure SQL database is again one of the great example for platform as a service. Why it is platform as a service? Because we are not managing the underlying software, we are not managing the underlying hardware. We only create new database. When you say new database, you create your own database and you start using for your application. That's why this is another example for platform as a service. Then, okay, if you give me 1 minute, I think I'll skip this one now. So for all of this to maintain, you need to have your own virtual network. Okay, so I'm giving the advanced diagrams, but don't get confused. In the slide, just gives the bullet point, right? You need to picturize what this means. So that's why I'm taking some of the basic example thing. So if I go back to the, sorry. Okay, so when it comes to Azure networking, you need a virtual network, which is specifically for secure network to host your resources. Then you have a Azure load balancer. Load balancer means you have one website which need a you're hosting a website. You have two servers, and you need to send the request to which server. You don't know, right? So you need to know some sort of middle component which will accept all the requests from user and then send it to what other server is available. If you have two virtual machine, whatever the virtual machines is available, it can keep sending the request to virtual machines. That's why you need a Azure load balancer. So the load balancer can manage your loads between the resources you have. Then you have a VPN gateway. So VPN gateway, it's pretty much used for hybrid technologies. Like you have a public cloud, also you have on-premises network. You want to connect these two in a secure way, then you will use Azure VPN gateway component. So this security component will help you to connect your public cloud and your on-premises. Then you have a application, Azure Application Gateway. Azure Application Gateway, it's a web traffic load balancer. It is similar to load balancer, but what this can do, it can give you additional security. So the additional security, like it can act as a firewall. It can block the request coming from this particular region. Like you don't want people to come from China, or you don't want people to come from Russia or Australia, then you can block by the region or block by the IP. So for that, you need a Azure Application Gateway. This can control your traffic, and it can send it to load balancer, or this can directly send it to your virtual machines. The last one on the Azure network topic is CDN. CDN means you have a website. The website is has lots of images and static content. So the website has actually, when you go to the website, you have images and some content. These contents, it's actually in UK South data center, and you are actually viewing that content in the website. But someone coming from America or Japan, if they don't have these images and the static content in their nearest region, then the website will take a longer time to load. So by creating one CDN resource, you put your resources like images and static content, you put it in CDN. This will automatically send it to all the globally available data center. So whenever someone coming from Australia, they can easily load their page because their images and the content are sitting in their closest CDN, content delivery network. So they are able to see that information. So that's why it is called Azure delivery network. So these are the key components from Azure network. Then you have Azure data services. We already talked about blob storage, disk storage. Blob storage doesn't have any restrictions. You can store any amount of data. Disk storage, pretty much like when you create a virtual machines, you need to store that virtual machines in one of the storage. So when you create a storage, you can use for a disk storage concept. File storage is like randomly you can store files like a CSV file, Excel file, then you need a pretty much file storage. So when you create Azure storage, you can say which one you wanted. Archive storage is the cheapest storage because you are not accessing regularly. So you can create a four different storage accounts. Then you have a example of Cosmo DB and SQL Server. So we already talked about Azure SQL Server is one of the great example for platform as a service. You are only buying the only creating the database and using. You're not owning software or hardware. Cosmo DB is similar that the advantage of Cosmo DB, it's globally distributed. Like the database you are creating in UK, you want to synchronize this data in Australia or Japan or America, this Cosmo DB can automatically provide that. Like when we saw that Azure portal, you say Cosmo DB available globally, tick box, that's it. You don't need to do anything. This Azure will take care of making sure this database available in all the countries and regions. Okay, I think from this we are stopping. I would like to ask people to just go through this and see what could be your answer. And in 2 minutes, we'll close the session today. So I think pretty much you all know what is Azure, which is a cloud computing platform, and it provides all the compute power, storage, etc. So again, this is one of the advantages, pay-as-you-go pricing model. When it comes to Azure Compute Services, we saw compute service means virtual machines and containers. So Azure Virtual Machines is the example answer for this one. Load balancer is part of virtual the networking category. Table storage is part and is table storage actually part of your database category, and cache for Redis again. This can go into it could go into either IaaS or it can go into PaaS services model. Then the last one, scale out. Like when should you scale out your application? Scale out, you might be knowing already. Adding more server in runtime is a scale out. So in the first option, it says when your application or service require more powerful CPU or more memory to run faster, is the first option. Second option, when you need additional virtual machine to speed up your application. The third one, when you are using excess capacity that you don't need. So from these three, you can easily understand what is scale out. Scale out means adding additional virtual machines to speed up your application. That is the answer for the third one. So your exam will be similar this, like it will be asking basic questions, like because we are talking about fundamental, all the exams is going to be basic questions. All you need to remember the keywords, what is compute means, what is Azure means, what is load balancer means. These kind of basic keywords you need to remember. This can be completed in 2 sessions, but because I know that we all are, some of the people are learning new, it is difficult for them to learn everything in 2 sessions. That's why I said it can take 3 to 5 sessions for preparing everyone. So in the next session, I will send you guys a online form. You can tell me who all are interested to prepare for the exam. Then I can start helping you guys to prepare, and then you all can get this Azure 900 exam. I think this cost 99 pound in Microsoft, if I'm not wrong. So that you can register yourself, and you can take the exam sitting from home. You don't need to go to any exam center. Only thing is, when you are taking exam, you need to have the camera and the computer, and no noise in the room, no material around you. So if you can make sure that can be possible, then you can take the exam from home itself. So you don't need to go for exam. I'm just saying, like, if you're interested, these sessions will help you. These sessions you can learn and prepare for your exam, because learning is different than preparing for your exam. Preparing exam, we don't go through all the questions samples here in every session. We'll be only talking about the resources and the usage of each resources. So before the next session, I will send you the form. You can tell me who all are interested for exam. Then I can, in the offline, I can send you some material for preparing the exams. So we'll stop here today. From next week, we'll talk about some of the architecture and service guarantees. So I'll stop here. If anybody have any questions or anything, please feel free to